Hello everybody and welcome back to Boss Bites. I'm the BK Bossman and we are back playing Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode you'll notice that we landed our Lunar Rover on the moon, and now we're going to go for a nice little drive and just gather a bit of science data up. Just going to have a little look here. You see, this is the surface game module. This is probably the most important one we have on the ship. If you have a look at it, you see it says currently we're in the Midlands, and what we're going to do is we're going to use that to get ourselves into some of the other areas. We're going to monitor exactly where we are, because as we go through we'll be able to get more science. So we're, just as an example, right now if we go and do observe the mystery goo container, observation from the moon's Midlands. If we go to a different area, obviously we're going to gather more science from there. So I'm going to just keep hold of that one for the moment, and let's go. Let's start taking this for a little drive. Now we are going to be heading about 45 degrees to where we are. We'll take it nice and slow for a bit because we don't want to be we want to get used to the vehicle and the fact that we're using it in a new and now weightless environment, or near weightless environment. Just check if that's it. Turn those reaction wheels off. It's a lot easier to drive when you're just driving on the wheels themselves. But we've got them programmed set up on number 1. If you followed any of the tutorial stuff at the beginning, you'll find your reaction wheels are now set up on number 1, so you can toggle them on and off as and when we need them. That looks potentially like something interesting. Let's just slow that right down. Not sure if that will be a rock or whether that's just a bit of scatter, but let's have a quick look. We'll bring the arm up nice and close. Scan the moonstone. Let's try to turn that around. Maybe it's just slightly out of position to be able to do that. There she goes. While that's doing that, let's go down and do the other experiments. Do the material study. We can do crew reports. Resource analysis. Never used this one before, but we're going to have a look at it. Log gravity data. Keep all of these experiments. See, everything's saying from the Midlands there. Obviously, we've got the barometer, temperature data. Excellent. So that is everything that we would normally want to log from there. Let's just, which one's the scientist? Fred Cass. So now what we can do with Fred Cass is we can EVA with him. Now what we can do is, he can take a surface sample, EVA report, and then what we're going to do is just get him up over this side here, and he can reset this one. Click the data first. Ready to go. There we go, click the data again and restore it. So now he's back in here. All the data's gone in. And then what we'll do is we'll just click on this one here and collect all the data. So you see there we've collected 10 experiments there. Everything we've just done the experiments on is now stored safely in the container. And that is the Midlands. Let's have a look at the map and see where we want to go. 45 degrees north. Good. And that's going to take us up to one of the other areas there. For example, we want to get into the big crater up here. Okay. Just a thought. Just as you've done each experiment, it's usually a good time to stop the vehicle and have a save. Done. Right, let's go for it. Let's have a look at about the 45 degrees mark over here. Nice thing about this one is it's nice and stable, gives you plenty of opportunity to pick up a little bit of speed. Actually had this up to 35-40 meters per second. I think 35 meters per second is anything up to 100 miles an hour, I think. But I'm sure somebody can correct me on that one in the comments. If you're going to get some air, like now, see it sits fairly nicely. If you get too much of it, you can press the one button to put your action wheels in place and just use it to guide the vehicle safely back in again. A little bit of air, absolutely nothing for it to concern itself with. Give it a nice low centre of gravity as well. Makes it as stable as it can be. And this is looking like quite a ridge up here, so we're going to make sure we're slowed down a little bit before we get to it. Check our position there. Yeah, and you can check your position there, just see whether we may have headed into the highlands, raising our height the way we have going up those hills. Just using the reaction wheels there for a second just to correct it. You also see as well that you can get the guys to just keep hold of it by using the SAS. They'll just keep hold of the control as you need it. We've got a pretty good speed going up at the moment. We're going to get ourselves over this way here. Just so we can have a look at the capabilities of the vehicle, we're going to actually take a descent. So we can show that it can handle it. Same as when recording that science, make sure that before you take any of these, you do get a save game in. These can get pretty quick and pretty hairy. This is going to be possibly a 30 or 40 degree incline. So we want to make sure that we are not shooting down it at full speed. Okay, 30 degree incline there. We're going to get it up over this side. Possibly actually go through the second crater as well. We'll back up that hill. It's one hell of a hill we've just come down. Just drag that back a bit, slow her down. Don't want to be taken off at any point. So very minute, very small adjustments tend to help. Don't try and force it to turn too quick, otherwise you'll just flip it. Okay, perfectly done. Let's get our reaction wheels on, get them to just settle it down. And look at that, a perfect landing. Let's get her to slow down before we hit that cliff. Make sure you turn the reaction wheels off before you try to brake, otherwise you'll end up lifting the nose up. That's a tough looking cliff, that one, but we're going to go for it. If you ever get the wheels up off the ground, just take your finger off everything and just give it a moment. Normally it will recover by itself. If you try to adjust it, what will happen is you'll flip it in the opposite direction very, very quickly. I won't make that last bit up there, and go over that lip will be fine. Come on, nearly there. Certainly does it. There she is. let's see how we're progressing, shall we? So we've reached about there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back a little bit later on. Just want to show you the capabilities of the vehicle. I'm going to come back a little bit later and show you when we arrive at some of the later destinations. Then we're bringing it up into this big crater up here. We'll explore that a little bit further. So what I'll do is just going to bring it up, get it so we're crossing this kind of threshold over here, and then I'll be back with you. So we just reached an area just about halfway between where we were and where we're going, and just thought I'd stop just for a second just to show you this. We've just come across a crater, so we're just going to take this around and have a little look at it. Just going to pop it right outside, right on the outskirts, right here, nice and gently. And we can actually scan this again with the rover arm. Apparently it's too far below the base plate. Let's try to back it off a bit. New target and range. Try taking it around a little bit and see what happens. We'll give it one more go before we go on. There we go. There we go, job done. Back on our journey. It'll not be long before we transition into the moon, into the larger moon crater itself. Keep up a nice pace. The vehicle's been doing really well. We've probably been getting up to about 20 meters a second, which generally helps to keep it from going too hard, too fast over any of these little ramps or bumps. Stops us from hitting the ground too hard when we go up hills. I just need to keep an eye out because we aren't far from a large dip. But I shall bring you back into the action once we get into the big crater.